Picture a city where church bells, the Islamic call to prayer, and Jewish prayers echo through the same streets, where bullet holes from a brutal war remain deliberately preserved on building facades as permanent monuments to memory, where an Ottoman fountain stands untouched despite decades of conflict, and where an assassination that changed world history happened on a street corner you can visit today. This is Sarajevo, the capital of Bosnia and Herzegovina, and it's unlike anywhere else on Earth. Nestled in the Balkans near the Adriatic Sea, Bosnia and Herzegovina remains one of Europe's best-kept secrets. Some know it as the former Yugoslav Republic with one of the world's shortest coastlines. Others recognize it as the place where World War I began with a single gunshot. But few truly understand what makes this country extraordinary. It's where Muslims and Christians don't just coexist, they thrive together. This is also the country that brought electric trams to Europe before most nations had even considered the possibility. Yet despite its innovations and rich history, Bosnia and Herzegovina stays mysteriously overlooked by much of the world. A land shaped by geography and faith. Covering approximately 51,000 square kilometers, Bosnia and Herzegovina is smaller than Serbia but nearly identical in size to Croatia, while significantly larger than tiny Montenegro. Home to roughly 3.5 million people, the country's most prominent cities include the capital Sarajevo, along with Mostar and Tuzla. Sarajevo sits in the country's central region and serves as its beating heart. Including surrounding villages, approximately 700,000 people call this city home. Look at a map of the capital, and you'll notice its central structure resembles a rectangle, with the Miljacka River, often called the Sarajevo River, flowing directly through its center, dividing the city into eastern and western sections. Like many great Balkan and European cities, Sarajevo is built around a river, and this geographic feature defines how the city functions. The old historical bazaars, some of the most crowded and popular tourist destinations, occupy the eastern part, while modern business centers dominate the west. When you visit, you'll immediately notice the constant flow of people and traffic moving between these two halves, as if the city perpetually negotiates between its past and present. Three faiths, one nation. Here's what makes Bosnia and Herzegovina truly unique in Europe. Approximately 45% of the population identifies as Muslim, primarily Bosniaks from the central region. The southern areas are predominantly inhabited by people of Croatian origin, about 17% of the population, mostly Croatian Catholics. In the northern and eastern regions, Serbs represent the majority, with roughly 38% identifying as Orthodox Christian. This isn't just demographic data. This is the story of a place where different religions don't merely tolerate each other, they genuinely live together harmoniously. Some call Sarajevo the Jerusalem of Europe, particularly because of its strong Jewish community presence. For hundreds of years, Christians, Muslims, and Jews have shared these streets, built lives alongside one another, and created something remarkable, a multicultural society that actually works. The shot that changed everything. Walk through Sarajevo today, and you'll encounter a museum that marks one of history's most pivotal moments. This is where Serbian nationalist Gavrilo Princip assassinated Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary, setting in motion a cascade of diplomatic and military actions among the great powers that made World War I inevitable. That single gunshot on a Sarajevo street corner changed the course of human history, plunging the entire world into unprecedented conflict. Today, the assassination site attracts massive crowds, serving as one of the first stops for visitors who come to understand how small actions can have enormous consequences. Scars that refuse to heal. Following the breakup of Yugoslavia, Bosnia and Herzegovina experienced devastating armed conflicts with both Serbs and Croats across various regions. The death toll varies depending on sources, but conservative estimates suggest at least 200,000 people were killed, with around 2 million displaced in the bloody struggle for independence during the 1990s. The war left permanent marks on the country, both physical and psychological. Throughout Bosnia and Herzegovina, particularly in Sarajevo, buildings from the Yugoslav era are riddled with bullet holes. If you're unfamiliar with the country's history, you might initially mistake these for decorative patterns. They're not. They're stark, deliberate reminders of past conflicts. After the war ended, Bosnians made a conscious choice not to restore the facades of many heavily damaged buildings. This wasn't negligence or lack of resources. It was intentional, driven by a desire to honor their martyrs and keep memories alive, to ensure that future generations would never forget what happened here. The cash economy reality. Before you visit Bosnia and Herzegovina, understand this crucial detail. The country operates on the Bosnian mark, abbreviated as KM, with approximately 2 marks equaling €1. But here's the challenge that frustrates nearly every traveler. More than half of all businesses refuse to accept credit cards. This isn't limited to small shops in remote areas. Large restaurants in prime tourist districts often display signs explicitly stating cash only. While some restaurants accept euros, the exchange rate they offer typically disadvantages visitors. Generally, you can only use credit cards for hotel bills and supermarket purchases. Why this resistance to credit cards? One valid explanation is tax avoidance. Since state tax authorities struggle to audit cash transactions, businesses may choose not to use credit cards to avoid bank commissions and reduce tax liabilities. It's frustrating for visitors, but reveals something about the country's informal economy.
Bashchashia, where Ottoman glory survived. Set aside the credit card frustrations and head to the bazaar, where you'll quickly encounter Sarajevo's most recognizable landmark, the tourist area known as Bashchashia. The most iconic symbol here is the Sebilj fountain, an ornate Ottoman-style structure where visitors constantly gather to take photographs. If you visit during spring or summer months, capturing a clear photo without strangers accidentally appearing in your frame becomes nearly impossible. Everyone wants their picture with this fountain, and for good reason. Examine the fountain closely, and its distinct Ottoman architectural style becomes immediately apparent. After conquering Bosnia and Herzegovina, the Ottoman Empire constructed mosques, inns, towers, and fountains throughout the country, leaving an architectural legacy that survived centuries of conflict. Despite the brutal war Sarajevo endured in the 1990s, the fountain in the main bazaar remained intact, transforming it from a simple water source into a powerful symbol of the city's resilience. Surrounding it, you'll find several mosques and additional fountains offering free drinking water to anyone who needs it.
The faces of Sarajevo. Walking around Sarajevo, distinguishing between tourists and locals, proves surprisingly difficult. The tourist demographic mainly consists of people from nearby Balkan countries who share similar genetic backgrounds. Turks, Serbs, and Croats visit frequently, and you'll encounter every age group imaginable wandering the streets. Focus on the people in the city center, particularly the youth, and you'll notice they tend to be positive with open outlooks on life. They enjoy interacting with foreigners and present themselves well. You'll see many well-groomed modern young women, some wearing headscarves, others with uncovered hair, each expressing their identity in their own way. Bosnian women generally have light or fair skin, and occasionally you'll spot colorful burqas worn for religious reasons. Most people in Bosnia and Herzegovina have blue eyes and black hair, a striking combination. Women typically stand between 160 and 170 centimeters tall and maintain healthy weights. The men also tend to have fair skin, predominantly brown eyes, and impressive height. Unlike stereotypes you might expect, they don't traditionally grow long beards and are often clean-shaven. Overall, both men and women in Sarajevo appear remarkably modern and well-groomed, defying expectations about what a Balkan Muslim-majority city might look like. Languages of coexistence. Bosnian, Serbian, and Croatian are the most widely spoken languages throughout Bosnia and Herzegovina. And fascinatingly, the pronunciation and vocabulary of these 3 languages overlap significantly. Additionally, you'll frequently hear Turkish expressions in Sarajevo, a linguistic echo of 450 years of Ottoman rule. Many locals understand and speak Turkish well. In fact, some businesses hang Turkish flags in their windows specifically to attract Turkish tourists to their restaurants, a pragmatic acknowledgement of who brings money into the local economy. Throughout Sarajevo, you'll also see the flag of Bosnia and Herzegovina displayed prominently in many locations. People here are intensely nationalistic, displaying strong pride in their national symbol, perhaps because that flag represents something hard-won and precious. The land of water. The name Bosnia literally translates to water, and if ever a country deserved this name, it's this one. Travel between cities and you'll find waterfalls and rivers flowing almost everywhere you look. This abundance of water creates the conditions for the country to be heavily forested and spectacularly green. The name Herzegovina comes from a medieval duke, a reminder that this country's history stretches back centuries before recent conflicts. A city without grand squares. Unlike most capital cities, Sarajevo lacks large, sweeping squares. Instead, you'll mostly encounter long streets, covered bazaars, and cafés nestled into narrow spaces. The architecture reflects a distinctly European style mixed with Ottoman influences, creating a unique aesthetic that belongs exclusively to this place. Walking through Sarajevo, you'll likely encounter a flame burning along your path. This is the monument of the unquenchable fire, also known as the Eternal Flame, serving as a memorial to those who fell during World War II. The flame has burned continuously since 1946 and has only been extinguished once by drunk youths one night. However, bystanders quickly noticed and relighted it immediately. This monument sits at the intersection of Tito Street and remains a popular gathering spot, a reminder that Sarajevo honors all its dead from all its wars without distinction. The transportation challenge. Let me be honest, claiming that transportation in Bosnia and Herzegovina is highly developed would be misleading. Unfortunately, both Sarajevo and the country as a whole lack robust transport systems. Despite being the capital, Sarajevo doesn't have an adequate metro network, a significant limitation given its large geographic area. Officials attempted to address metro needs with rail tram systems, but understand that these aren't subways. These tram-like systems operate above ground and share roads with cars, contributing to traffic congestion rather than alleviating it. Developed cities typically have subway systems running underground, completely independent of vehicular traffic. Most cars on Sarajevo's roads are mid-range models, many over 15 years old. While an intercity train system exists, its operating hours are severely limited. For this reason, renting a car makes more sense than relying on buses which are at least 20 years old and deeply uncomfortable. Here's another frustration: ticket sellers at bus terminals may refuse credit cards and will absolutely insist on cash payments, adding yet another layer of inconvenience to an already challenging system. Economic realities. The minimum monthly salary in Bosnia and Herzegovina is approximately 619 Bosnian marks, around 300 euros, an extremely low amount by European standards. Sarajevo isn't cheap for a Balkan city, especially in tourist areas where prices can shock visitors. Souvenir sellers routinely quote prices of 40 or 50 euros for nearly anything you ask about, regardless of actual value. The average monthly income ranges between 1,000 and 1,500 Bosnian marks, meaning professionals like nurses, teachers, or civil servants typically earn around 700 euros monthly. Monthly rents often range from 1,000 to 2,000 Bosnian marks, suggesting anyone looking to rent a home will pay at least 500 euros per month. To earn and actually save money in Bosnia and Herzegovina, you'd need to make at least 2,000 euros monthly, a salary far above what most residents achieve. One positive aspect: men and women have genuinely equal opportunities in the workforce here. If you work in construction, Bosnia and Herzegovina could be an excellent choice. The country is actively developing, with ongoing construction, building and repair activity, particularly in the capital, indicating strong demand for construction and installation workers. Bosnia and Herzegovina, particularly Sarajevo, ranks among the safest places in the Balkans. The likelihood of experiencing crime in Sarajevo is remarkably low. You can walk the streets at any time without fear. People's faces reflect a sense of prosperity, even though the economy struggles and few well-known brands operate here beyond telecommunications companies. If you seek peace, quiet, and a green environment, this country offers exactly that. Religion serves as a bridge rather than a barrier to living in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Everyone remains free to practice their beliefs without interference. You can dress however you wish and move freely through both alcoholic and non-alcoholic establishments. You'll encounter very few police officers or checkpoints while exploring Sarajevo because daytime crimes are exceedingly rare. In places where locals congregate, you generally won't encounter refugees or illegal immigrants, as the country doesn't face those challenges significantly. Occasionally, you might see people from the Roma community asking for money, but that's about the extent of it. I should mention that the political situation in the country is reportedly quite chaotic. However, I encourage you to focus on enjoying the country's beauty rather than getting entangled in politics you don't fully understand. If you earn more than €2,000 monthly, you can live comfortably in Sarajevo for extended periods and even purchase an inexpensive car for only a few €1,000s. However, understand this sobering reality. Bosnia and Herzegovina currently ranks as one of Europe's 5 poorest countries, alongside North Macedonia, Ukraine, Kosovo, and Moldova. Additionally, the health and education systems aren't in the best condition, factors that significantly impact quality of life for permanent residents. Bosnia and Herzegovina, particularly Sarajevo, is extraordinary for short vacations. The history, the culture, the unique blend of East and West, the warmth of the people, all of it creates an unforgettable experience. Walking through streets where different faiths have coexisted for centuries, seeing Ottoman fountains beside Catholic churches, beside Orthodox cathedrals, beside synagogues, it's genuinely moving. But for raising a family long-term, the various issues with essential services, the limited economic opportunities, and the difficulty finding stable, well-paying employment present serious challenges. Sarajevo is a city that survived assassination, world war, ethnic conflict, and brutal siege, yet somehow maintained its soul. The bullet holes in building facades aren't scars of shame, they're badges of survival. The eternal flame doesn't just commemorate the dead, it celebrates the resilience of the living. This is a place where history isn't something you read about in books, it's something you walk through, touch and breathe, where every street corner tells a story, and where 3 of the world's great faiths prove that coexistence isn't just possible, it's beautiful. Bosnia and Herzegovina may be one of Europe's poorest countries by economic measures, but in terms of culture, history, and the human capacity for reconciliation, it's one of the richest places you'll ever visit.